So I'm a child of the 60s. And what that means is during the 70s and 80s, a pretty turbulent period of my informative years. There were a lot of problems then. We had a lot of socio-economic and political problems. Now, what happened in response to that was people got the idea that if you wanted something done, well, hey, you were just going to have to do it yourself. And so there was a big growth in self-sufficiency. Growing your own food, looking back at the past at skills that we'd lost, regaining those skills, learning how to make things. And I have a tremendous amount of sympathy with that view, probably because I grew up in that time. But of course what's happening at the moment is 40 years on, and it sounds a bit scary when you say something like 40 years on, but 40 years on, we're facing very similar problems, and of course we're having a very similar response. People are getting up there and they're experimenting and doing stuff themselves in terms of energy production and storage. So you see a lot of interest in things like windmills and solar and batteries and that sort of stuff. But of course it's a coin. And when you're staring at the coin, what you've got to remember to do is flip it over because, hey, it's got another side. Now, because that other side is all to do with how we use that energy and what we do with it in our lives. Now, what people are hoping for to a degree is that wonder pill that will cure all ills. We don't have to do anything. We'll find the solution, whether it's going to be wind, wave, solar, thermal, thorium, salt, whatever is your particular favourite that you think is going to be that pill, that's what you're waiting for. Because the encouragement is, and the idea is, that we need to change what we're doing. We need to have a think about how it is that we're using that energy. Now, that's not as popular as producing enough energy so we can continue in our lives. But that still is there, that we need to think about what it is that we're doing with the energy that we used. Now, there are two things you could do. One, you could hope for a better future, or two, you could look back on the past and see what they did. And in the 70s and 80s, that's exactly what happened. People looked at previous technology, low-tech solutions to high-tech problems, and it became a very popular movement. That actually is happening again. Now, there was one thing I was looking at called, sorry, I'm just looking at it again, the Low-Tech Magazine. It's lowtechmagazine.com. Absolutely fascinating. I came across this because I was obviously mucking around with bicycles. Now, mucking around with things might seem pointless when you're actually doing it, but what it does is it trends your mind to thoughts you wouldn't normally have, and things pop up. People make suggestions, people have ideas, people have trains of thought they wouldn't otherwise go unless they were mucking around with things. And that's what's happened here. I've been mucking around with bicycles and I've been making those hubless wheels. I mean, those hubless wheels are cool, but so what? But it does lead you down other paths, particularly on bicycles, which led me to lowtechmagazine.com, and the use of bicycles to directly use mechanical energy to do things that we're otherwise doing. There's a whole host of really good articles on that lowtechmagazine.com, so if I were you, I really would go and have a look at it, particularly if you're interested in energy. There's a lot of interesting solutions, things like water breaks, for example, and it's well worth a look at. But anyway, back to what I was talking about, and that's to do with bicycles and pedal power, direct mechanical power, to do jobs that we're currently flipping a switch and using a motor to do, because our minds go immediately to electricity and motors. The question is, do they need to? Now, I would argue that they don't. There are alternative solutions. And I was reading a book called Pedal Power in Work, Leisure and Transportation by a chap called James McCullough, written in 1977. Great book. Lovely suggestion about how to make a bicycle power unit to do some of those jobs that we currently flip a switch to do. Now, people can produce some power. An athlete's going to produce about 2 kilowatts for a few seconds. There's a concept called the Human Power Unit, or a HUP, a HUP. One HUP is taken to be 75 watts, and that's what you can produce all day long. Normal people can produce about 4.5 HUPs, but only for a few seconds or so. So you're not going to get a huge amount of power out of this, but you are going to be able to do those ridiculous jobs that you normally flip a switch for. So things like making smoothies, sawing wood, drilling holes, all that sort of stuff. And that fascinated me because that is a change in the way we look at how we use our energy. It's the other side of the coin that I was really attracted to. So I'm going to do some projects on that as an idea, and it's going to be based on that book and based on that magazine. Now, they do an internet version, and they also have a paperback version of their articles. I ordered the paperback version because it's 20 quid. And I thought, £20? That's not a lot. It'll have some interesting projects in there, some interesting ideas in there for sure. And even if I could just have read those on the net, that £20 is going to help that website to actually continue running. And I think that website deserves the support that they need, because they're highlighting all of those ideas from the past that we can adapt to meet our problems now. Now, there are housing projects where the housing project is a net generator of energy to about 10%. There's a few projects being argued about. There's one going up, I think, in the northeast, and those are the kind of things we need to do, I think, because I don't think that we necessarily have to wait for the brilliant pill and the bright future. I think the solutions are right now. It's actually just a matter of us changing our mindset and implementing those solutions on a broad scale that is actually going to be the solution. Most of those come from looking at the past. Now, standing on the shoulders of who went before, looking a little bit forward, is how progress is made. Progress isn't made by flashes of genius. Progress is made by looking to the past and applying that to the future and making small changes. Anyway, I wanted to point out those two things to you: the Pedal Power book, the Low Tech magazine, the idea of energy use, and some of the projects I think I'm going to actually start working on because I find them fascinating. Anyway, I thought I'd share those with you. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching.